So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Matt with Maddie, number 29. This is Uncooked Matthew. I tried to make the thumbnail kind of look like the title was cut out of like a watermelon, and I don't think it worked.
I think it looks like it's out of raw meat.
That could work too. But I tried to embed some, now at the scale that you're looking at, like virtually impossible to see, like watermelon seeds. And it didn't help. Because the problem was, if I put too many of them, or made them too big so that they were easily noticeable, then it just looked like it was made of watermelon seeds.
Ah.
And yeah, it was a balancing act, and I think I failed it. Oh well. It was an interesting idea, and by the time I was finished doing that in Blender, I was too tired to come up with a different idea, and I was like, we're just gonna go with it.
There you go. I love
yeah.
it. Yeah, sorry, I thought it was hamburger meat. Also, I clapped at the start of this because I think I got you to tell a story until the exact time that the stream started.
It's true, you did, but then I stopped right as the stream started.
You did.
Because I'm a professional. Now, we got a couple...
Dapper's a professional.
Exactly. We got a couple of super chats. DM Google Debunker Wing, nice. Says, let's effing go Godzilla, Mothra, and a Ghidorah with some turtles. So we'll take a drink for that, thank you.
Let's go!
Roasting a Pareidolia enthusiast, Keller, nice. Actually, I mean, I'm a Pareidolia enthusiast too. Like, I like playing the game where, like, what does that cloud look like? It's fun, right? It's just, I don't take it seriously and think that that's actually what that cloud is, right? If I see a cloud, I'm like, it looks like a rabbit. I don't think it's an actual giant rabbit in the sky. That's the problem.
Unlike the Love is One cult was really convinced that big clouds were, in fact, spaceships.
Maybe they just watched Nope too many times.
Maybe. I don't know, I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen Nope? Nope was fun. You should see Nope.
Okay.
Let's see. So, yes, anyway, roasting a Pareidolia enthusiast color for $1.99 says, crunchy, raw, unboned Matthew. I mean, I presume he's at least unboned, or, well, that he's in fact bone in right now, because as far as I know, Raw Matt is, alive, and, well, I was going to say well, but, like, not in immediate mortal peril. I'll say that.
Right, yeah. And Amoopsy hasn't drunk his bones.
Correct. Which would be bad.
That would be so bad.
We are here at the Dapper Dinosaur channel. I'm not anti-Moopsy, but I am anti-people being having their bones drank by Moopsies. Because remember, it's drinking, it's not eating.
They do not eat your bones, they
drink your bones. Now you might be saying to yourself, how can you drink a bone? Well, that's only because you haven't seen a Moopsy in action.
Yeah. You should watch the Lower Decks episode.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Boring Pori says FTFE is live currently, but since he introduced me, he gets my attention. Sorry, we'll leave your video open but muted. Hey, you know what? That's okay. Look,
Sorry, man.
I realized very early on into this whole YouTube thing that, like, there's too many people who I like that have streams or shows at all hours of all days that there's no way for me to not to overlap with someone else who I think is worth watching. So I just do what I can. Vandalia 1998, who's been a member for 44 months, thank you very much, says, my monthly membership is finally the same as my aging years. Congrats. Maddie, how is the little one's PhD coming along now that you have yours?
Oh my goodness, it's coming along great. She can identify one letter of the alphabet and counted to 3 yesterday.
Nice. All right, I have a couple thank yous to say because I got a couple birthday presents from my Amazon wish list. So
nice.
Here's the thing. I believe that I have the names and the gifts properly in my head, but I am not positive, and I disassociated the thank you notes from the packaging. So if I get this reversed, and you're either of the people I'm thanking, please let me know so I can thank you for the proper thing if I don't. So first, let's see. I got the Teeming Universe. It is primarily an art book with some speculative evolution stuff. And that was, the card with that was Happy Birthday from Savage Cobra. Thank you very much, Savage Cobra. And I also got a deck of cards for the Vassin role-playing game from Free League. And also a bag of creme brulee almonds, which are very, very tasty.
Ooh,
They're very good.
that sounds yummy.
Yeah, and the note with that was happy birthday from Siobhan, aka Pibblepunk. And yes, I did have to double check to make sure that that was in fact Siobhan, because Irish names are like that. And yeah, anytime
I would
there's an
only
Irish name, I'm
possibly
like,
know how to say that because of Siobhan Thompson on Dimension 20.
Yeah. Irish names are always like, I mean, Anglo-Irish names obviously are very easy, but actual Irish names that are from the Irish language, I swear. So sometimes I feel like 1,500 years ago or something.
Yeah.
There was some Irish scribe who had a vision of me personally getting annoyed and was like, I'm going to make the orthography for this language specifically to annoy that guy.
That guy.
And his vision is of me, like, more than 1,000 years in the future. He's
That's
like,
a great headcanon, and I'm here for it.
Right?
Yeah.
There's some, like, monk or something. He's like, you know what? Screw that dapper dinosaur guy. I'm going to make the language that I'm writing down be the thing that specifically annoys him. It's like...
Yeah, screw that guy in particular.
Yeah, thanks. Let's see. Rail Gatubello for $5 says, I feel like Nick Rivera watches these Raw Mat podcasts and screams angrily at his computer screen for his crappy metacritics. Look, the only safe way to consume Raw Mat content is with a heavy filter, right? Raw Mat is a cognito hazard, and I and Maddie have special training to deal with the cognito hazard. You guys probably don't, so, like, my recommendation is not to consume Raw Mat unfiltered.
Right, yeah. Let us filter it for you.
Yeah.
I'll feed it to you like a baby bird.
Oh, gross. Here's an image that I don't need is Maddie chewing up a Raw Mat video and spitting it into my viewers' mouths.
Yeah.
Gross. All right, so as you can see, we have this is a drinking stream, as Tuesdays normally are. I have some wheat beer here, and we already saw one of the reasons that we drink, which is to say that someone super chatted with any of the channel kaiju emojis, which include Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. If you do that, we will take a drink. Also, milestone chats. Too.
And remember that it's always totally fine to play along without alcohol, right? I'm playing with water today. Unfortunately, I've been really struggling with migraines, so I'm gonna be off alcohol for a little bit, because those are a trigger for me. So, boo, because I got a really delicious scotch for graduation. Nice. But yeah, you feel free to play along with a glass of water, or you like to play with. I have a piece of candy, right? Eat an M&M or something.
Yeah. Roasting a Pareidolia enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says, boning and deboning both mean to remove bones. Well, sometimes that's what boning means. Sometimes it means something else.
But I was thinking of it in terms of corsets, and
that means to add a bone there, inserting bones.
That does mean to add bones, yeah.
Although nowadays we shouldn't be using bone for those. We have things
actually that don't never used bones. I don't think
they used. I'm pretty sure it used whale ivory.
No, but it was whale. It was like Braylon, right? It wasn't the actual bone.
Oh yeah. Either way, we shouldn't be killing whales for figure sculpting undergarments.
Oh, we don't do that anymore. Hold on. I used to have some boning in reach, but I don't have it anymore.
Oh, well. We got a couple more things. Gantry's Refreshing Bones, who's been a member for 6 months, is at the Tetchbot level, says, Maddie is our scramble goggles. Yes, exactly. With a Godzilla, so we'll take a drink for that. Yep. Ventalia 1998 for $5 says, Raw Mat video should come with a warning they have on certain TV shows. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes, agreed. And there's a Mothra in there, so we'll take a drink.
Yeah. Cheers. I'm going to be so hydrated.
So, the drinking rules are as follows. We already went over the Kanji one. If Raw Mat says something that's so stupid, we kind of just have to take a drink. We'll take a drink. Now, do be warned, my stupid tolerance is higher than yours probably is, so, you know.
Yeah.
If Raw Mat actually gets something factually correct, and it's not just him quoting something, it's actually his own thoughts, and they're factually accurate, take a drink. If Raw Mat tells a joke that doesn't land, tells a story that didn't happen, we will take a drink. If Raw Mat mentions that particular German political party that came to power in like the 1930s, and was a bit of trouble for many people in the world over in the 40s. Take a drink. We'll also take a drink if Raw Matt mentions something about any wider taxon to which the specimen Lucy of Australopithecus afarensis belongs, and says that we can't know something about that because of what wasn't in that one skeleton of Lucy. So, for instance, if he says, we don't know if Lucy could walk upright because we don't have her feet. And yeah, we have Australopithecus feet, so it doesn't matter that we don't have that one particular animal's feet. We'll also take a drink if either Maddie or I can successfully predict where Raw Matt is going to be going, where it's not very, very obvious. Right? So, like, if it's a whole discussion about, like, I don't know, DNA barcoding, and I say, well, I think he's going to talk about, like, mitochondrial DNA barcodes. That's what he always talks about. That's not a worthwhile prediction. There is also a Trojan source. If Raw Matt cites a source, which he almost never does, but if he does, and we check the source, and the source not only fails to support him, but actively contradicts him, we'll take a drink for that too. We will also take a drink if any of you guys super chat anything to the effect that AIG Answers Genesis are a bag of dicks, but you do have to be a little clever, because if you just type that into the chat window, yeah, YouTube will censor that, so you gotta be tricky. We'll also take a take a drink if you guys gift memberships. If you give 10 memberships, I'll take 10 drinks and mark it down. And then, I believe last, and probably not least, if I screw up the production, I take a drink for Dapper as a Professional. Now, if a program crashes, or YouTube crashes, or something like that, right? That's not me. That's something else. That's not Dapper being a professional, that's just, like, YouTube sucking. So, yeah.
That's Gremlin. That's different.
Yeah, exactly. I don't take a drink because the Gremlin screwed things up. Dr. Dino, who, for $2 says, Dear audience, please do not consume raw mats. Yes, consume your mats thoroughly cooked to a safe temperature of...
At least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. I got with the meat.
It's true.
Facetiously.
Well, I mean, it's also literally true. You could actually check that with a meat thermometer.
That is true. I'm just not advocating for it.
Yeah, we do not advocate for cannibalism.
No. Sure don't.
Oh. Now, if you named, like, your steer Matt or something, then, I mean, okay, like, whatever. Slaughter your steer humanely, though.
Yeah.
Alright. Maddie, are you ready?
Never, but let's get started.
Okay. Now, Matt is telling us about how dangerous poultry and fish are when raw, which I'm not going to disagree with. He is right.
Except for sushi.
Well, okay, very fresh fish can be safe raw, but, like, he's also talking about the context of, like, a society that doesn't have, like, refrigerators or freezers or things. And in that case, yeah, sorry, unless you're like eating that fish within, like, the hour of it being caught, you should probably cook.
Yeah, like, I will always cook my fish. I will consume sushi, right, that has been prepared by a sushi professional, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
So now you're taking in a food group that's highly risky, which primates today still eat, by the way. They eat meat. They eat each other. They're still carnivores. So why they're not...
Well, primates as a group aren't all carnivores, but it is true that some primates do eat other primates. Humans do, but so do chimpanzees. Chimpanzees will hunt monkeys with spears.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn, chimpanzees should not be in...
Chimpanzees are... They're scary.
Yeah.
They're like, this is the spear that I use to stab baby monkeys with so that I can eat them alive. It's like, oh... Okay.
Oh,
cool.
Okay.
I'm gonna go walk somewhere else now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Roasting a Pareidolia enthusiast color for $1.99 says, should cooked mat be 165C or 165F internally? F. If you go to 165 Celsius, you will have overdone your mat by quite a margin.
That's very much overdone.
Yeah. You'll have, if it's not just a pile of ash, you'll have very, very dry mat at that point. All right, let's see. My Unfinished Journey for $6.66 says, Hail Nero Caesar, pineapple cider while rethreading the drawstring into a pair of lounge pants. Oh, that's so annoying.
Nice.
I hate rethreading those.
Use the safety pin trick?
I use the trick where I just tie a knot in the drawstrings, and then they physically cannot require rethreading. That's the trick I use.
If you have to rethread them, put a safety pin on the end and thread the safety pin. A little easier.
Okay. Let's see. So, lounge pants, which no longer contain my AIG because thrift store. Okay. You know what? We'll take a drink. Didn't know it was going there. That's cool.
Oof. That was a walk. You took us on a walk there.
Yeah. Fits of Magical Lab Rats Rage for $2 says AIG is a bag of Bilbos. Damn autocorrect. Nice. We'll take a drink.
Beautiful.
And then Eris gifted 5 memberships. Went to Midnight San, Queer Demonic Selection Toadstool, A Madman, Publixon, and Maddie Babbity. Thank you so much. So, let me just adjust the little meter here. That it has the appropriate numbers, and we'll take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then let's see. Roasting a Pareidolia Enthusiast Keller for $4.99 says in the U.S. all fish needs to be frozen at least once before served raw. Yeah, that's actually a key part of raw fish safety because the freezing will kill pretty much any parasites that are in the fish.
Oh, okay.
So fish actually have a fairly, wild fish, right, have a pretty high rate of parasites in them. And freezing will, break up those cells, and it'll still be perfectly edible, but you're far less likely to get a whole bunch of worms wriggling around in your heart.
Great!
Yeah. I like to avoid heartworms, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wild game is dangerous, everybody. Don't cook your venison rare. Well done. And if you're like, oh, it's going to be too tough, that's when you make venison stew.
Yeah.
Venison stew is really good.
Growing a bigger grain is still beyond me. So therefore they invoke, no, we cooked it. Therefore, what happened one day is man was probably walking along and there was a bushfire and they smelled meat and they probably walked over and they found a gazelle or something and they started eating the meat that was cooked, and that meat was safer, and that's what probably grew our bane. Well, now you have an even bigger problem because guess what? Cooked meat by fire is a class 1 carcinogen.
Yep, but here's the thing, Matt. Yep. We went over a little bit of this last time. I just want to get the context for going forward.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When your average life expectancy is 28 years, and your options are starve, get a bunch of crazy worms that are probably going to kill you in a year or two, or eat some food that if you live to be 70, might slightly increase your chance of cancer at that point. It's a pretty easy choice. You eat the cooked food, right?
Yeah. And so he said something there about it was cooked food that caused our brains were able to grow so big because we had an excess of calories, right? It's not. That's so that's a little more appropriate to say. I'm not sure it's appropriate to tie that to any specific type of food, right?
It's not entirely appropriate to pick a particular type of food or method of food preparation and say this is the reason. However, it does make sense to say that cooking meat and vegetables also helped with the excess of calories, because when you cook food, it is easier to digest it, because one of the things that cooking does is it starts to break down the various chemicals the food is made of, which is also what digestion is. So basically, you're just taking a little bit of the work that your digestive system would otherwise have to do and doing it for it beforehand. And there you go.
Yeah.
That's why some people say that cooked food is more nutritious. It doesn't technically contain more calories or anything. It's just that it digests more easily when it's cooked, and so your body is more likely to extract the existing nutrients in, before it, say, exits through the other side of your digestive tract.
Yeah. Well, and I also don't know if we're thinking about where in human evolution that became important, right?
Somewhere around the earliest Homo that we have, right? So
somewhere. I don't know. and like this idea of this being like, because he's describing it as human beings, Homo sapiens, right?
Yeah, which it's not.
Which is not. So like he's telling a little story here that has a seed of truth in it. I just want to make sure that we point out that it's like there's a lot of nonsense in that too.
Cooking long predates Homo sapiens by millions of years.
Yeah. And so cooking is a thing that does only genus Homo do that?
So that is a good question, and I believe the answer is yes. However, I am not super confident that that is correct. It is possible that some late members of Australopithecus, I would say, check with Erica. She would know.
Okay.
Rosa Pareidolia enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says, "This stream is making me crave long pig." Well,
oh gosh, no.
Again, the Dapper Dinosaur channel does not endorse the consumption of long pig.
I don't either. Sure don't. But the other thing that I want to point out is that like cancer feels like a much bigger deal and much more common today than maybe like 200 years ago because we live longer, right?
We don't have the problem of immediate starvation, or like we typically don't have the problem of like predation by large felids and things like that, right? That's not something humans are dealing with too much anymore.
To a large degree, cancer is the thing that will kill you if nothing else does for.
Yeah, basically.
Right. Like, to a large degree, that is true. And here's the thing. If we could snap our fingers and cure all cancer, right, and nobody ever got cancer ever again, which would be a wonderful thing, right, then there would be a new thing that is the thing that will kill you if nothing else gets you, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's common, especially amongst like kind of woo-woo nutrition, to talk about the rates of cancer, blah, 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 blah. But if you, I remember, because I had my biology professor at in undergrad, when the one biology class I took, that I was required to take.
Right.
One of the professors was specifically a cancer researcher. It was co-taught by a geneticist and a cancer, and he was talking about like that the age-adjusted rates of cancer. So if you account for the fact that humans just live longer now, then the instance of cancer in the population has remained unchanged, except for stomach cancer, which has actually gone down.
Well, good for stomach cancer. Nathaniel,
by the way, he attributed that to preservatives in our food.
All right.
So bring on the Mountain Dew, baby.
I don't think that necessarily follows, but, you know. Nathaniel, iron cross-linking doesn't work great for $2 says, "I endorse cannibalism in all its forms." Ghidorah. Good to know. All right, I'm going to hit play now.
Worldwide.
Okay.
Worldwide. So now a cancer-causing substance is going to be beneficial and cause our brain to grow?
Yes, that is a perfectly reasonable thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else causes cancer? Smoke from fires. You know what will kill you way faster? Freezing to death.
Yeah. Everything in life, everything is risky. Staying in bed is risky. Going out for a walk is risky. Going and eating a raw banana is risky. Eating some cooked steak is risky. Literally everything is risky. The question is, do the likely risks outweigh the likely benefits? And then if the answer seems to be yes, you do the thing. And the thing is, a lot of the time, the answer is yes, right? There's a reason why when you go in for life-saving surgery, they warn you about the risks, because they are real. People do sometimes go in for surgery that they need to stay alive, and then the surgery is the thing that kills them. It happens. Yep. For that reason, should we just abandon all surgery? No. And so, yeah, is it true that cooked meat can increase your cancer risk? Yeah, it can. Not by a huge margin. And also, like we said, if your option was to, like, go starve today or eat some cooked meat that might give you an increased cancer risk at an age that you're probably not going to reach anyway, who cares, right?
Yeah.
It's like telling someone who...
sunlight will do the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Breathing the air in the US lowers your life expectancy by 9 months.
Yeah, it's just like, what are you going to do, right?
Not breathe?
To a certain extent, it's sort of like, going into like hospice and saying to like some guy like, hey, you probably shouldn't smoke that cigarette. It's like, dude, this guy's not going to be here in 2 days. He doesn't have to worry about the increased cancer risk from the cigarette. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right?
It really doesn't.
Like, there are risks that matter and risks that don't really matter. And when you're a Pleistocene hunter-gatherer, the minuscule risk of eating cooked meat is way, way better than the extreme risk of starvation or horrible, horrible parasite infections. Because let's face it, you're going to get parasites anyway, but you can at least mitigate it. Punk, half dog, half canine for $5 says, just going to say it doesn't matter one bit how much nutrition is in your food to begin with if you can't digest it efficiently. Exactly, right? You could be eating something that is full of every nutrient you could possibly need, filling perfect number of calories for you for the day. But guess what? If it's like encapsulated in some smooth glass or something, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to pass right through you.
Yep.
And cooking makes it easier to digest. So yeah. Look, I'm not telling you don't eat raw food, right? I eat raw food all the time. I eat raw vegetables. I eat sushi. Great.
I love my steaks rare.
However, I am
also... It's not raw, but...
No, it's not. But yeah, cooking your food is the way to get the best nutrients out of it. And it should be the default way that you do things as a human.
Yep.
Humans evolved to eat cooked meat for millions of years.
You're literally telling me that the very food group that, if you look it up online, causes more problems than it does any benefit whatsoever. Cooked meat has never cured one disease that I'm ever aware of, and I've read all kinds of nutritional studies.
Okay,
only if you don't count... Listen, I get starvation isn't a disease, but it's definitely a cause of death.
Yeah, I'm going to take a drink.
Cheers.
Yeah, okay. And also, here's the thing, Matt. The measure, generally speaking, for food and for how good it is for you is the nutrients it provides and not the diseases it cures.
Yeah, how many diseases has a banana cured?
Right. I mean, I guess potassium deficiency?
But is that a disease?
I mean, it's a disease in the same way that, like, rickets or scurvy is a disease.
True.
So, like, I guess, yeah, if you have a nutrient deficiency, yes, eating certain things will cure you of a nutrient deficiency. But generally speaking, we don't measure the health benefits of food by, like, oh, this one is going to cure your common cold. But the thing is, Raw Matt is a self-described licensed herbalist in all systems of herbalism worldwide. So Raw Matt actually does think that you can cure, say, your stage 4 cancer by eating his herbal supplements, which is why he has mocked the death of cancer patients, because they didn't come to him. And which is why
we enjoy roasting him here on the internet.
Exactly. And the thing is, look, sometimes terrible people die. And I get that sometimes you don't need to always be respectful of people you didn't respect when they were alive. But what you shouldn't do is mock them for their untreatable cancer, because that's not a thing that they did. But Raw Matt thinks it is, because Raw Matt thinks that, oh, if you eat like a medium rare steak, boom, cancer. But if you eat his longevity herbal formula, you're going to live forever, because he has a book literally about how you can use his herbal supplements to never die.
I'm pretty sure Raw Matt thinks that if you just take his herbal supplements, that bus coming at you will bounce off.
Right. Just...
Yeah.
Let's see. Rosina Pareidolia Enthusiast Keller for $4.99 says, while cooking anything produces carcinogens and precursors to carcinogens, does it actually factually increase cancer rates in humans? So I have not spent a whole lot of time diving directly into that particular literature. However, what time I have spent in doing that indicates that, yes, cooking does in fact, or specifically meat, cooking meat does in fact lead to slightly higher cancer rates in humans, and you would have a lower cancer risk if you were a vegetarian than if you consumed meat. But on the other hand, it's also a very small increase, unless what you're doing is, like, constantly eating cured and smoked meats. So, like, if your everyday meal involves, like, cured sausages and, like, beef jerky, yeah, maybe go to like some chicken breast or something, right? Like maybe don't do that.
Yeah.
Or be a vegetarian. You can be a healthy vegetarian. You don't need to eat meat. In fact, I think most Americans could stand to eat less meat, and I realize that I'm not exactly the change that I want to see in the world. So,
yeah.
You know, but, yeah.
Listen, there's a lot of benefits to, like, there's a lot of health benefits and, like, environmental impact benefits to even doing, like, a meatless Monday, right? Like switching out one meal a week for a vegetarian option. By the way, I did black bean and sweet potato burritos. And they were so, that's what I had for lunch today, and it was. And Hannah kind of liked it. She liked the black beans.
Nice. I mean, I'm a big fan of black beans. In fact, one of my my favorite vegetarian meals is in fact black bean nachos.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Some like
and
Mexican
so like
seasoning on the black beans, shredded cheese, right in the oven.
Yes. Seriously, try adding sweet potatoes, especially like purple sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Because they're really earthy.
With Dapper and Maddie.
Yeah, they're really they're earthier than orange sweet potatoes. And take, I think, to like the like that cumin chili powder, like that, it takes that really well.
Okay.
But so yeah, like I'm all for talking about benefits. Like I'm not a vegetarian. I'm never going to be a vegetarian. That's not my jam, right? But like again, I'm all for talking about like, hey, you can lower your food cost. You can, we can think about environmental impact, right? I know normally I say that like one person has no ability to affect climate change unless you're Elon Musk or Taylor Swift, right? And I still stand to that. But like, if there was a movement of people to do like Meatless Mondays, that would actually could actually appreciably affect, right?
It's one of those things where like you personally doing it is not likely to do much. But if most people start having like a day a week where they just don't eat meat, it will lower emissions, because remember, a lot of the emissions out there are from agriculture, and a lot of the agriculture associated emissions are just directly cattle breathing and farting.
Yeah. Because methane is actually is a factor of 10 more potent of a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. Mm-hmm. But anywho, so anyway, there's health benefits to doing that. There's environmental benefits, right? It's more cost effective, right? There's 1,001 reasons to talk about like thinking about like vegetarian, right? Or a vegetarian meal. Like that I think honestly way outweigh anything that's like if you're a vegetarian but you suntan, right? What's the difference between a meat eater who's in her garage,
you're
right? I think I'm less likely to get cancer.
Yeah.
Right? Like that risk and the mitigation of that risk is so, right? Like it's small, right? It's a small percentage. Mm-hmm. And like that's a place where it's just, to me, that's like the risk is very minimal compared to even just my enjoyment of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's another thing, right? Sometimes you do risky things because you enjoy them. Right?
Right.
Like it's not like you're accomplishing much by skydiving, and it's definitely risky. No. People die doing it. Yeah. But you know what? People have fun. And you know what? I'm not
cleaning. Hiking.
Yeah. People die hiking.
People die hiking all the time, but hiking is also good for you, right? So this is this idea of risk management, right? The idea that you can live a zero risk life is an insane concept.
Yeah, it's not a thing. All right, let's get some more raw mat in here.
You're left with cooked meat being a carcinogistic substance that kills.
Carcinogistic. Just take a drink, and then we'll hit
carcinogistic. No.
Carcinogenic, but okay.
Carcinogenic.
Kills you is now going to be the driving force of what made our brain get bigger, either through adaptive response from the meat or because the meat allowed us to have and clear up more energy caloric advantage for.
Yes, that's the one. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. That one.
Or the glucose.
Excess calories that we could devote to a brain.
Mm-hmm. Whatever theory you want to believe really falls short when you see the destructive content that meat actually does inside the body.
No, it doesn't, though. Because that's the thing, right? Meat isn't actually all that destructive inside your body. It's easier to digest than plants. It's one of the reasons that so many animals eat it. And yeah, like we said, yeah, there are health risks associated with meat consumption, but in the context of like, you know, on the savannah in Africa at like, you know, 3 million years ago, you know, no one cares about the ever so slightly increased risk of like colon cancer 40 years later.
Well, let's also be very clear, right? It was in like 100 years ago, right? The majority of humans were very concerned with starvation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it is a very modern, very privileged take, right? That, like, assumption that you just get to have enough to eat, right? Consistently.
Right. The idea to have a very specific, bespoke dietary, like, ideal is a pretty modern thing, right? People have had dietary restrictions before, right? Like, there have been places where vegetarianism was common, or, you know, pork taboos, fish taboos. These are, however, just the idea that, like, you're not going to take advantage of the vast majority of calories available to you is something that really not too many people throughout history have had the luxury of doing. Let's see.
There's a great... Go ahead. I'm going to find a great graph.
It's a carcinogistic rage. Jeez. Has gifted membership, and it went to a coyote, so we'll take a drink for that. Thank you very much. Carcinogistic rage. All right, I'm going to hit
Carcinogistic rage. I love it.
Right? So, either way that they look at it, they're kind of at a loss, because every experiment that's ever been done giving an animal meat doesn't make them smarter. Matter of fact,
I'm going to take a drink. I can't... Matt, my guy. Listen, evolution isn't a thing that happens to an individual animal, right? It's not like you're going to feed a chimpanzee a nice juicy steak and it's going to wake up quoting Shakespeare at you, right? That's not how this works. It's that the species as a whole had the room to evolve features that were calorie intense that they otherwise could not have supported on a more basal diet, right? It's a generational thing. No one at all is suggesting that if you feed your rabbit a bunch of chicken, you're going to get a genius rabbit. No one is suggesting that. That is not how anyone is suggesting that this works. And the fact that that's not something he realizes is kind of embarrassing. Just like, as a thinking creature who exists in the universe, I am kind of embarrassed to share that universe with Raw Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to drop a link to a plot. It's just from Wikipedia, but it's well sourced. It's cited, right? But of life expectancy by world region from 1770 to 28. I'm dropping the link in there, but the shape of the plot is it's like a hockey stick. It's like this, and then shoots up, right? There's a very clear pivot point, right? And why is that, you ask? Amazing question. Because the number one indicator of lifelong health and life expectancy is consuming enough calories before the age of 5, right? Like the amount of calories you get, not even like we don't even calories, right? But just enough calories in the first 5 years of life. Number one indicator, right? So that pivot point is not correlated with any type of medical invention. It's not correlated with like vaccines. That's not correlated with the discovery of antibiotics. No. It's just like surplus food.
Yep.
Right. It's the only thing that correlates.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, like, it's going to be real hard if we're thinking about a species thriving, go back 3 million years, right? But even just thinking about, like, again, to say this in sort of a weird way, the privilege of being worried about carcinogens, right?
It's true, though, right? Most of history, starving was a much bigger thing. And if you're like, oh, hey, that summer sausage, might increase the rate of... It's like, dude, I need some food so I can go toil on the farm for the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I will collapse and die. Right. Up for things to read. Rail Gatubello says, I am not even sure what language we're going for here. So yeah, that's the problem. Is I don't know how to pronounce any of these things, so I'm just gonna go wing it. It's Malaboid a Friagrai e Ngeniasas. I'm sure. I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna take a drink for it because I'm pretty sure I know what it means.
Mhm.
But yeah, look,
I'm out of water
I
already.
don't even know
That was
what
first.
language we're going for. But hey, no, I appreciate it though. You do not need. I do not need to know what language your super chat is in for you to super chat it. That is not a rule I have.
Also, score one to that super chatter for stumping Dapper Dinosaur # not a linguist.
You know, I don't know most of the languages out there, right?
What?
Most of the
No,
languages
that can't be
exist,
right.
I
You
don't
know a lot more than I do. So,
Well, yeah, but like, I could know 400 languages and still not know most of them.
that's true.
There are thousands out there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Heather Evolution of Forks Coon for $5 says, to borrow a line from someone I knew in college, life is a terminal illness. Some of us just get longer remissions than others.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Roasting a Pareidolia Enthusiast Color for $4.99 says, Matt thinks animals are Pokemon and will immediately evolve based on what you feed them. I mean, that does seem to be his version of evolution, right? Is like, oh, hey, you fed this human a brainstone, and now it evolved into Homo sapiens after being a Homo ergaster. Yeah. It's just like, no, Matt, that's not what anyone is proposing. Sorry. Sorry, the Japanese media led you astray. Although, remember that time in Godzilla 54 when they were like, oh yes, like 6 million years ago, dinosaurs roamed the planet, and I was like, oh, no.
Oh, no, honey.
The exact opposite is true. It's always the frugivore or the omnivore that leaves out meat that actually allows the brain to grow.
What? I'm sorry, the omnivore that leaves out meat. Then it's not an omnivore.
Right. But also, what studies does he have on this? Like,
yeah, citation needed.
Like, does he have something indicating that, like, gorillas are far more intelligent than, say, chimpanzees? Because, I mean, gorillas eat, like, no meat. Like, they just don't eat meat. I'm not saying that you couldn't get a gorilla to eat some meat if you gave it some, but, like, they don't hunt, meat just does not form any significant portion of their diet. On the other hand, chimpanzees form hunting parties. They will ambush monkeys and eat them. In some cases, ambush rival troops' babies and eat the baby chimpanzees. Which is...
We still don't endorse cannibalism.
No. But I'm not, like, I mean, another species, I can't tell chimpanzees how to do a chimpanzee.
Yeah, like, non-sapient species, like, don't have morals. They can't, right? Like,
well, then again, chimpanzees do enforce a sense of honesty and sharing and fair play among the troop. So I wouldn't say they don't have any moral senses. They're just not human morals.
True.
Also, even non-ape monkeys will start to become jealous if you reward different monkeys unfairly. There's a famous experiment where some macaques were trained to do a task in exchange for some cucumber. But then you had two monkeys doing the task in cages next to each other where they could see each other. They could see what they were getting. And they were both very happy to do the task for cucumbers. But then the researcher starts giving one of them grapes, which is a much higher value food for them because they're sweeter, right?
Yeah.
And then the other monkey would start to refuse to do the task and actually get angry when offered a cucumber and would not perform the task until the rewards were equalized again.
And this is why we need strong union.
Yes, that for monkeys especially.
For monkeys especially. Yeah, macaques unionize.
Yeah, get yourself a union rep. I don't know. Let's see. Josh Wiggy's just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to Mira DeFalco, Not a Summer Child, Matthew K. I just lost it. Amber Rum and Dino Nuggies. And I feel like I'm missing someone. Oh well, I'm probably missing someone. I don't know what to do about that. I'm not going to hunt for it. So here's 5 drinks for that. 1. 3. 4. And 5. Nathaniel, Iron Cross linking doesn't work great for $2 says, you are what you eat. I want to be a human, so... I don't think that that's what that means. Also, it's just not true that you are what you eat. Like, if I was what I eat, then, like, I think I'd be like a bowl of ramen or something. But I'm probably not.
Yeah.
Alright, here we go.
That super chat made me think of the Jungle Book song. I want to walk like you, talk like you.
You know, it's a good song. I like King Louis.
The song.
We find the exact opposite in experiments. So why they would believe it's true
I would love a citation, Matt. Just give me a citation. What experiment?
theoretically is still beyond me. But then again, that's what evolution needs. It needs assumption. It needs perhaps it happened. It doesn't need the scientific evidence because they're going to always go by the story. Because remember, they believe it's true at all costs.
No. I'm perfectly happy to abandon evolution if it stops explaining the evidence, or evidence that contradicts it comes to light. It's fine by me. I don't have an emotional attachment to this. In fact, if I have an emotional attachment, probably to young Earth creationism. There's a reason I was one. There's a reason I'm not now. And that reason isn't because I want to rebel against God and go sin.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a perk.
Yeah.
It's true whether or not the scientific evidence proves it or not. That's the problem with the theory.
No, scientific evidence has never proven anything, ever. That's not how science works.
Right.
We have different levels of confidence in different conclusions in science.
Yep.
Right? That's why we have statistical methods. To give us an actual numerical way to express how confident we are. But that confidence never reaches 100%. Ever. I don't care how good your data set is. You're not getting to 100% confidence. Even if you happen to know that what you're doing is actually testing a statistical technique and it gives you the answer you know to be right, your result still doesn't have a 100% statistical likelihood. There's a famous set of experiments that people, I mean, they still do it, right? Where you take a single colony of bacteria, right? And you try to isolate it down to as few individual cells as possible initially, so that you have a monoclonal colony of bacteria, right? And then you culture that, and you start making, dividing that colony, right? So you take a scraping from that colony, and you put one bit of it in one petri dish, another bit in another petri dish. Now you have two lineages. You keep track of this, right? And then at the end, now that you have some 32 or 60 or whatever different lineages, all of which have this branching pattern, which you've kept track of, you use phylogenetic techniques to sequence their genomes, and you try to work back from that what the actual ancestry tree should be. And you can compare it to your objectively known ancestry tree, right? We know for certain what the ancestry tree is because you made it. Yeah. And you actually still recover that with a high degree of confidence, which is cool. But you still don't get to slap a 100% on that. Because there's a chance that you don't actually have the evidence to show that that's the tree that the technique should recover. It could just be that technique is wrong and got you that tree by a fluke. Not a high chance, but it's not a zero chance.
Right.
And that's with you knowing the right answer and getting the right answer. You still don't get to say 100% confidence. That's not how science works.
It goes in complete contradiction with what we actually see.
No, Matt, it's with what you see.
Yeah.
The only, I've never encountered any experiment on meat versus not and intelligence in individual organisms. Yeah. It's not an experiment that I'm aware of anyone doing. However, Matt, you have an extremely large ego. And you are a vegetarian. I'm extremely confident that what's actually happening is you are simply inventing studies that don't exist because their existence would justify your closely held beliefs.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Roasting a pareidolia enthusiast Keller for $1.99 super chats a 100% emoji. Thank you very much. Although I actually kind of wish that emoji had the percent on it, because people always use it to mean 100%, but it actually has 2 lines under it. They should get on that. And I don't even know who they are. The emoji police.
The emoji people. Yeah.
Which I guess in the movie, the emoji police are a real thing. But also, that was a terrible, terrible movie. So I'm going to not talk about it.
I have not seen it, because I assumed it was going to be terrible.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. It's somehow a commercial for the concept of emojis. Which,
ew.
Why would that need a commercial? But hey, Patrick Stewart's in it.
What?
Yeah.
Must have been a nice paycheck.
I hope so. I hope they paid him a lot.
Yeah.
It'd be a poop emoji if I remember correctly.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do we see? Well, Well, let's take, for example, IQ. The largest study that's ever been done was a...
Hey, Matt, IQ is pretty much just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, it measures something, but what it measures is more like your ability at the current time to fit in with the privileged part of your age group. Which isn't the same thing as just an inherent intelligence that you have. That's one of the problems with intelligence, right? Is it's nearly impossible to quantify because it's not well defined in the first place. So that's why all methods of measuring intelligence are iffy. They're
wibbly wobbly.
Yeah. There can be yes/no tests, like the self-recognition in a mirror test, where you check to see if various animals will recognize themselves in a mirror. But that's again a yes/no test, right? There's stuff like, can this animal solve this puzzle? Yes, no. But attempts to actually put a number and a unit on it never really work out.
Yeah.
Among the British responders on the National Child Developmental Study, and they started studying children from an early age, and they tested them below the age of 10 or 12 years old, and they give them 11 different IQ tests. Then when they were 42 years old, they tested them again. Guess who had the highest IQ by...
I'm going to go ahead and guess the richest people, yeah. But here's the thing. Rich people are more likely to be vegetarians because they're more likely to be able to afford expensive, tasty fruits and vegetables that make that palatable, whereas poor people are more likely to buy things like processed meats. And here's the thing, that's a fairly recent phenomenon, right? Throughout most of history, if you were eating meat regularly, you were wealthy. But with the advent of factory farming and the health consciousness movements, that trend has flipped. Now rich people are far less likely to be carnivores. We have for $5, Pillowpunk, half dog, half canine, says, do you think Raw Matt has any idea how many grazing animals will happily munch on small vertebrates given half a chance? Yeah, that's also a good question. And I don't think he knows that. No, but it is a good point because, very few animals are strict herbivores that do not eat any meat at all. That's why I was hedging myself with the gorillas, right? Because I'm sure every once in a while, a gorilla grabs like a lizard or a bug or something and eats it. And you can go online and find footage of horses and cows eating, chicks, snakes, mice. They'll do it. Most animals will eat meat if the opportunity presents themselves, especially under certain hormonal conditions. So, for instance, cows really like to eat more meat, especially vertebrate meat, around the time when they're getting ready to calve, or when they're going to be mated, because they need the extra calcium. And most cow feed doesn't have a whole lot of calcium, and so they start to get a craving, and they go and eat meat. And it's very common for quote-unquote herbivorous animals to take a bite of meat every once in a while.
10 points down the line, the vegetarians. Why, if meat is making us smarter, does it make you dumber?
I mean, the thing is, first of all, IQ is nonsense. So, literally nothing that says, okay, hey, this group of people had a higher or lower IQ means anything to me. Right?
Do you remember, Dapper, did you catch the name of this study? I'm trying to look it up.
No, I don't think he gave a name. Because he never does.
He said British. Okay.
British.
Okay. Great British Intelligence Test.
Yes, I hope that's what it's called. Rosina Paradolia.
Well, I just found a link that calls it that.
Oh, nice.
Well, something that.
Rosina Paradolia Enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says, Google deer eating a bird, or don't. Up to you. Yeah, I mean, I am pretty sure that you will get exactly what you Googled for when you Google that. But so first, IQ is pretty much nonsense. 2, wealth is by far the biggest determiner in IQ. Well, after language proficiency. If you don't know the language the test is given in, you're going to get a bad score. Like, for instance, if I gave you a Japanese language IQ test, Maddie, my guess is that you would have had a really bad IQ.
Yeah.
Even if it were very easy questions.
Right. I would get, it was designed for 6-year-olds. I would fail because I don't read Japanese.
Right. But that's one of the problems, is that people in a particular country will give all of the kids an IQ test in the most common language in the country, without regard to the fact that many of those people may in fact be English as a second language. They may have only limited English proficiency at all. Yeah, it's a problem. And there's like, yeah, but it's a really easy IQ test. Well, not if you don't speak English very well. And you know
Okay,
what?
hold on.
Not speaking English isn't a sign of low intelligence. It's a sign of not speaking English.
Not speaking English. That's very true. I did just find a paper that is IQ in childhood and vegetarianism in adulthood. 1970 British cohort study. So let Ramat talk, and I'm going to zone out and see if we just got a Trojan sword.
What are the smartest people looking in the back? We have Pythagoras, we have Socrates, we have Plato, we have
Pythagoras, everybody. I'm just going to take a drink.
Pythagoras. And you know he was a vegetarian?
I believe he was, but he also didn't eat beans, which is weird. Because
oh, hey, look. Yep, okay. Vegetarians were more likely to be female, to be of a higher social class, both in childhood and currently, and to have attained higher academic or vocational qualifications.
All things that have a bigger effect on IQ than anything else. Let's just take a drink for Trojan source. Thanks, Matt.
Trojan source. Thanks, Matt. Found it.
Man, it's almost like it's almost like we could predict this from a mile away because of how obvious it is. Carrie Bronson for $5 says this IQ talk is big number, therefore God, but with these being the biggest numbers Matt actually comprehends.
Yeah, I dropped a link in chat. If anybody wants to check my work.
Awesome. And yeah, there's also the question of like, well, IQ is a big predictor for how well you're going to do in life. Yeah, but wealth is a bigger predictor. And you can just as easily predict IQ based on wealth. So I'm pretty sure the causality is going the other way around.
Yeah. Well, and IQ is only a bit of a predictor, right? Because it basically says if you have an above average IQ, you are more likely to like be successful by some definition of that than somebody with a below average IQ.
Yeah.
But there's no relationship between like a genius level IQ and success, right?
Also,
no
you know
relationship.
What's a bigger indication of how much money you're going to make than IQ?
How much money your parents have?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which is why we need strong unions.
We have Nikola Tesla. We have Einstein. All of them.
Wait. What? Was Einstein a vegetarian? I don't actually know. I don't know about Nikola Tesla either.
Were Plato? Like, geez.
Yeah, I don't know about Plato. I mean, I know that the ancient Greeks, by and large, were not vegetarians, and even if they were, they also spend a whole lot of time drinking wine, which is probably worse for your intelligence than meat is. But you know,
vegetarian.
He became a vegetarian a year before he died.
Who did?
Einstein.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say that if he became a vegetarian the year before he died, that means that he was eating meat when he made all of his important contributions to science. And I'm just going to take a drink because you don't get to claim Einstein as a genius vegetarian if all of his vegetarianism was in the very last year of his life, which, spoiler alert, isn't the year that he wrote all of his famous papers in. Just in case you didn't know. Yeah, I'm taking a drink for that.
Let's... Gosh, I keep finding fun websites we explore.
For $5, Carrie Bronson says, this is important. Maddie has a cat, which we just heard, right? I think so. You don't have
I don't have a cat.
If not, my neighbor's cat might have gotten into our yard, which is bad for me. I think that might have been the thing that happened.
That's happened. I don't have a cat. I have 2 dogs and a baby.
There are 2 dogs at Casa Dino as well, but I don't think either of them made any loud noises recently. So
yeah, and I am in fact deeply allergic to cats. My husband really, really wants one, and well, one we can't have one right now because our older dog Shep gets his way too interested in cats, and we're not sure if he wants to play with them or eat them or both.
Yeah, not ideal.
Not ideal.
All right, for $1.99, roasting a pareidolia enthusiast Keller says, did vegetables kill Einstein? Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. There's a since we're into, you know, correlation without any examination of causation here today. I have to point out that yeah, it's a little suspicious that the year that Einstein stopped eating meat, he died. So
Yeah.
what it sounds to me like is that meat was the thing keeping Einstein alive, and he would still be with us to this day if he just had a good steak every day.
Actually,
It's the only explanation. But hey, we're gonna go on a quick break. We are right around the halfway mark for this show. I'm gonna get myself a new drink. Feel free to get yourselves new drinks, get snacks, do whatever you need to, and we will be back in just a few minutes. In the meantime, please enjoy the musical stylings of one Bent Hovind. All right, I am back, and I guess there might not have been music, and I don't know why, because last time I saved that scene on OBS, I definitely had the music on, but hey, Dapper's a professional, so
cheers, team.
which Star Song points it out for $2. There was also a question about Einstein and Jewish dietary laws and such. I do not know if Einstein made any attempt to keep kosher, but it also was with a question about whether or not he, quote, followed the religion. I do want to point out that Jewish identity is more complicated than ritual observance versus not, and that being someone who does not believe in the existence of a personal god or anything like that neither precludes one from being Jewish, nor from being ritually observant as a Jew, nor is ritual observance the litmus test for Jewish identity. So it is a bit of a malformed question. Or statement, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, we'll take a drink for the Dapper's a professional. Thanks, Starsong. Let me update the counter here. All right, so now that we're back from the break real quick, I just do want to say my sort of after the break thing, which is to say, hey, guys, your support means a lot to me, and it is the thing that lets me do this channel and produce often like 5 or more hours of content weekly for you guys. I mean, it's a lot. And I spend a lot of time working on it. Today is probably going to be a 14 or 15 hour work day for me when all is said and done. And I am not doing that, saying that to complain. I am saying that to say, like, thank you. You are the ones who make it possible for me to put in 15 hours in a day making YouTube stuff, because I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to starve or be homeless tomorrow, or in a month, or in the foreseeable future, right? So, if you are someone who's currently not supporting financially, but you're interested in doing that, and you can afford to, we have a few great ways to do it. We have the Patreon. The Patreon is where I get to keep the most of the money that you send. That starts at $1 a month. It can go to 15% off if you go annual. You can also go all the way up to $100 a month if you want to. If you're feeling absurdly generous, it's fine. I'll take it. You get access to the Discord server that's just for supporters. You get early access to scripted videos. At higher tiers, you can get your name in the credits. I'll mention your name. You can get requests. There's all sorts of cool stuff in there. Also, if you join the channel, joining the channel gets you access to the same early access, the same Discord server. You can get your name in the credits at higher levels. That starts at $1.99 per month. You can go all the way up to $20 a month if you want on there. You also get the channel emojis. Your name goes to green. You get a cool channel badge. Lots of cool stuff there. If a monthly or an annual subscription isn't your deal, it's not what you want to do, obviously there's always super chats, gifting memberships. There's super stickers, super thanks, all those help out. But there's also a merch store. If you look right under this video, there's a shelf with merch. Click on any of it that interests you. If none of it interests you, you can still click through and go to the whole store, which has more than what's on the shelf. There's also a wish list if you just want to get me something fun. Like earlier today, I read out 2 gift cards that I got from Pillow Punk and Savage Cobra. And yeah, if you want to like make my day, or in some cases even like my week or month or something, grabbing something off the wish list helps. And there's also, yeah, I said the merch store. So, but ultimately, if you can't afford to, or you're just not interested in helping financially, but you still want to help the channel out, make sure that you hit like, share my videos, you know, comment on my videos, watch a few of my videos in a row. There's a quick free way that anyone can help out. Also, if you're interested, I do need people to render for me over on Sheepit so I can get my 3D animations into my videos. And there is instructions for how to do that in the description if you want to. And while I can't say that that's free, it's not going to cost much more than running a computer game is. So, like, it's going to be a few tens of cents on your energy bill. But with that, Maddie, are you ready?
I am so ready.
All right, here we go. More raw mat.
More.
Why are the meat eaters? I mean, why are not the meat eaters? Why were they not eating meat? Why were they saying that the meat is not making you smarter? It does the opposite.
They weren't saying that.
Citation needed.
Yeah. Matthew K for $2 says, it's Tutu Tuesday. Why no human suit with tutu? So the answer to that is that if you go back and listen to the birthday stream carefully, I said that on the next Kent with Bent, I will be in a tutu. And now the reason for that is because I already have a set for Kent with Bent that easily allows my human suit to be on camera. And that is not the case for Matt with Maddie or for Jackson with Jackson. So that is the reason. It's because I don't want to have to design a new
Sorry,
set.
you gotta look at my face instead of a suit.
I mean, Maddie, you could get a tutu.
I actually need to. Baby girl's birthday theme is going to be her favorite things, so koala ballerina theme.
Okay.
And I think I need a tutu that matches baby girl.
Wow. Hey, maybe next Matt with Maddie, Maddie will be wearing a tutu.
Yeah. My sister got a full koala one and a tutu.
Wow.
No.
That's some dedication right there.
My sister's a pediatrician. So when baby girl's birthday party, I'm trying to say her name. Her birthday party last year, because she was turning 1, was unicorn themed. And my sister was like, great, I already have a unicorn onesie because of
Okay. I don't know too many people who can say that.
right? Pediatrics is wild. It's a wild place.
I bet so. All right, here we go, Matt.
David in the Bible said, no, give me poultice, which is the vegetables, and water, and I will get smarter. That's what he did. And
I don't think "and I will get smarter" is in there. Also, a poultice isn't something you eat. It's something you apply topically.
Great.
Right? Like, that's... I'm just going to take a drink. How does Raw Matt not know what a poultice is?
David, give me cultist quote, please. 2 Kings. Okay. Yeah, no, it says bring some mashed figs and place them on the king's open sore. Then he will then get well. 2 Kings 27. This is very easy to look up.
Well, Matt, why you got a Trojan source with the Bible?
The Bible.
Come on,
Jeez,
man.
It's so easy. Gosh.
It's your favorite book, my dude.
Yeah, you should stump me with Bible stuff. You should stump us.
It boggles my mind that he will even lie about the Bible if he thinks it suits his ideology. Right? Like, with most creationists, you can say, well, they think this because they think that's what the Bible says. With Raw Matt, you can't even say that. Raw Matt will completely ignore and just lie about the Bible if it suits his weird herbalism, vegetarian, breatharian, monofruitarian lifestyle.
Yeah.
And look, here's the thing. I'm not telling him to change his lifestyle. I'm just saying, hey, man, don't try to justify it on the basis of nonsense that you're lying about. Just don't do that. Vince O'Connor for $10 says, good intelligence test questions. Do you think the Earth is flat? Do you think young Earth creationism is a well-supported hypothesis? Do you think vaccines cause autism? Yeah, every time someone says yes to any of those, you just mark them off like 20 IQ points right there.
Right. Okay, bye!
Which isn't actually fair because, by and large, nonsense beliefs like that are actually not well correlated to intelligence or any other measure of like cognitive function. In fact, the things that cause people to believe stuff like that are primarily various social and emotional things, and not just how smart you are. Very, very smart people believe very, very stupid things. Roasting a pareidolia enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says, a poultice of dung and raw Matt's words. Oof. That'll do the opposite of heal. I'll just make everything worse. I'll open up some new sores on King David.
In the book, remember? And what happened? And then you mentioned people.
What happens is, I believe the sores go away, raw Matt, which is not the same thing as getting smart.
I think it's not the same thing.
No. In fact, I mean, I feel like most people at some point in their lives have had like a rash or a cut or some kind of skin thing that they wanted to go away, a mosquito bite, a sore, or something like that, right? And I feel like when it went away, they didn't therefore get smarter.
Right. Also, let's control F the Bible for the word intelligence, right?
I don't think you'll find intelligence in particular. The Bible
I don't think
talk a whole
you might
lot
find
about
wisdom.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that the Bible has a lot to say about intelligence per se.
Right. Also, Solomon, famously more wise than David.
Also, famously in the narrative, did some pretty stupid stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, here we go.
Peter, remember being told a large sheet came down from heaven, and inside of it contained all of the four-footed beasts of the earth and all of the fowl of the air and all the fish of the sea. And a loud voice came unto him and said, kill, Peter, and eat. Arise, kill, and eat.
Okay. Yep. This seems like a pretty clear endorsement of meat eating.
Where's this going?
Yeah, let's see how Matt turns this into an endorsement of vegetarianism.
And he said, surely not, Lord, for nothing has ever entered my mouth that is impure or unclean. He was strictly talking that he didn't even eat meat.
No,
he didn't eat unclean meat.
And also, how does that story end? Because it doesn't end with him refusing to eat meat. It ends with him going to have a dinner with the Gentiles.
With the Gentiles, yeah.
I'm going to take another drink because that's amazing.
It is.
Even if you want to make the argument that that was not what most Christians have interpreted it as throughout history, which is to say an explicit abridgment or an official sort of like doing away with the dietary laws in terms of this new Christian covenant, even if you don't want to argue that, at the very least, it is not a condemnation of eating meat, because specifically it's the unclean things. But you know what was clean according to the dietary laws that Peter was following? Chicken, cow meat, goat meat, sheep.
Yeah.
Heck, the temple in Jerusalem, cows and sheep and goats and birds were routinely sacrificed. And you know what happened to the majority of the meat from those sacrifices? It was eaten by the people who brought the animals for the sacrifice in the first place.
Right. And by the way, it was a burnt offering. It was a straight up barbecue, man.
Yes. Yes, the temple in Jerusalem was basically religiously sanctioned group barbecue.
Yeah.
People were eating that meat. Now, true, there are certain portions of the animal that were burnt to a crisp on the altar as a burnt offering to God.
Yeah.
Because remember, God also says in the Bible repeatedly that he likes the smell of burnt offerings, which are usually cooking meat. God likes the smell of a good steak cooking. In the Bible.
It smells so good.
Yeah. But the rest of that meat was a portion was taken by the priests as essentially their payment for the service. And then the rest of it was eaten by the people who had provided the sacrificial victim.
Yep.
That's how this worked. The Bible commands people to eat meat, essentially. It's like not even an option. Because there are certain sacrifices that are obligatory at various times in, a person's life. And while some of them can be a grain offering, especially if you're poor, some of them, the lowest you can reduce that to is like a dove or a pigeon.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Gotta be a meat.
You're going to be eating some of that.
Has to be meat. I just said it's gotta be a meat. That's where I'm at.
Prixie, Dapper Dinosaur is a linguist purple, who's been a member for 4 months, says, as a vegetarian, I'm dumber than a vegan, but with a joke. Nice. And yeah, look, again, I am not telling you to go eat meat, not be a vegetarian, not be a vegan. I'm just saying, if you're going to do any of those things, please don't say stupid things about either of those choices, like Raw Matt is. Don't misrepresent the Bible as being anti-meat eating in order to justify your own vegetarian. Here's the thing. You don't need to justify being a vegetarian to anyone.
You don't.
You can just do it.
You can just like it.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you want to justify it to people, that's great too. Just have better reasons than because the Bible told Peter to eat unclean animals, and then he said no, but then later on he kind of went and ate the meal anyway.
Yeah. He knew it was wrong. He wasn't even going to do it, even though God was directly telling him to do it. He was telling him to do it for a reason, of course.
Yeah, but how does that story end, Matt?
How does that story end?
It ends with him doing the thing, right? Just keep reading.
This is another Trojan source.
Yeah,
Jeez.
you know what? Another biblical Trojan source, too. Which is amazing.
That's amazing. 2 biblical Trojan sources in one. In a, 10-minute period. Right. Is astonishing.
How is he this bad at the Bible?
That's impressive.
I don't know anyone who claims to base any part of their worldview on the Bible at all who is this bad at the Bible.
Well, there's that real trend. I guess I have only heard of this second. Take this, what I'm about to say, with a grain of salt. But apparently there's a trend of evangelical pastors who, when they preach from the Beatitudes, were told by their congregation, what's up with this woke theology.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Jesus is going too woke because he's blessed are the meek and whatnot.
Yeah, maybe take care of the poor.
Yeah.
And the pastor's being I don't understand what's happening. Unfamiliar with the Christian nationalist movement.
Right.
Did you not think the leopards would eat your face?
Well, I mean, to be fair, there are definitely churches out there that are not Christian nationalist churches that have sort of Christian nationalists on the down low, people who are in the church.
Right. Yeah.
So, Roasting a Pareidolia enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says raw or cooked foreskins.
Ew.
I don't recommend eating those either way.
We're still against cannibalism.
Yeah, we're still against cannibalism. That is the official stance of the channel. I know.
Yeah.
It's a big controversial stance to say
controversial.
boo cannibalism. In order to get rid of a few more controversial stances that I'm going to take, I'm going to say boo slavery. We're also going to say boo to homophobia or transphobia.
Yeah.
Racism. Boo to racism.
Boo racism. Love that.
Yeah. Those are the controversial stances I'm going to take today.
Okay, great.
I'm now a very brave YouTuber who has taken the
You're so brave.
very controversial
brave,
stance that cannibalism and slavery are bad.
Yeah.
Of course, he wasn't actually literally telling him pick from a magical blanket and eat the meat.
He was telling him to go eat with the Gentiles who were going to serve him ritually impure food, which might have included animals that were never allowed to be eaten by ritually observant Jews who were following the dietary laws. Which, by the way, was actually a fairly recent invention. the idea of like widespread knowledge of the dietary laws of the Torah and also like following them was probably only a few centuries old by the 1st century, because we have good reason to think that before that, like, these weren't texts that were widely known or followed.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe like the cult in Jerusalem. And I'm using cult in a historical sense, right? We're not talking about like high control groups. We're talking about any set worshipping group that have their own set of rituals and objects of devotion.
Was metaphorically telling them, no, the Gentiles are the unclean, and you should now being able to teach them.
No, it was specifically about eating with them.
Specifically about eating with them.
He was Matt, do you think that in the 1st century, Jewish people just didn't talk to Gentiles? Because that's not really a thing outside of like weird separatist sects like the Essenes, right? If you were living in Jerusalem, you were
having... he's an ordained Essene, though.
Forgot. Yeah, that's stupid enough for me to take a drink for.
That made that
here's
up.
the thing. Peter wasn't an Essene.
Mm.
And if you were a Jewish man who was going around in places like Jerusalem, you were having daily contact with Gentiles. They were in the markets. They were living there, right? There were Gentiles all over the place. Rome was currently occupying the entire country. Those soldiers were not primarily Jewish.
Also, Peter was a fisherman. Do you think he didn't eat fish?
Yeah, what was he doing with those fish?
Yeah. It's not eating them?
It's an odd sort of a job for a vegetarian. Maybe he was a pescatarian. But yeah, like, the whole point of the story is not just can Peter teach to the Gentiles, right? Now, it's embroiled in this whole discussion about if non-Jewish people want to follow Jesus, what parts of Jewish law should be incumbent upon them and which parts shouldn't. And that's where you get to the whole council in Jerusalem and them trying to figure that out. And that's not what we're going to get into right now. But that is a part of the whole thing, is exactly how do Gentiles who become followers of Jesus do that? And what are they required to do? But in this specific story, Peter has been invited to go share a meal with some Gentiles so that he can preach not to Gentiles broadly, but specifically to these Gentiles who want him over for dinner. He got a dinner invite, and basically he's like, I shouldn't do that because the Gentile food will not fulfill the dietary requirements that I follow.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing from God is supposed to be like, that's okay. You can go do it anyway.
By the way, team, if you're having a full-blown dark night of the soul over, I don't know if I can accept this dinner party invitation because I don't know if the household will respect my dietary needs, be they religious, health, or just preference, right? A great way to solve that is to bring your own food.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they're not okay with that, you just don't have to go.
You don't have to go. Right? That's what I would do.
Or you could wait for a vision from God. Also an option.
Or you could wait for a vision from God. I do my best to accommodate my guests' dietary restrictions. Right? But, sometimes can't. You know?
Yeah. When,
and then I let them know.
When I've had, a Muslim over, I'm not like, hey, man, you want some beer and pork rinds?
Exactly.
Hey, you want, a can of Coke? I have some chips.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I had a Mormon friend over, and I made sure I had, we're filming the thing, so I had, Red Bull for everybody, and I know she likes lemonade, so I made her some lemonade.
There you go. It's not that hard to be accommodating.
It really isn't.
At least in general.
Again,
if someone's going to have, 4 pages worth of dietary restrictions, maybe.
I might be like, I am uncomfortable. Yeah, so, there's a point where I might hit, especially if it was, allergies or something like that. I'd be like, I'm uncomfortable.
You should bring your own food.
You should bring your own food. I am uncomfortable knowing for sure that this is safe for you. Right. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
Right?
We have a couple super chats. Olivia Williams for $2.79 Beaverbuck says, pout. But I want to eat the long pork. No, it's bad. No eating the long pork.
Don't eat it.
Paradolia Enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says, maybe he was using the fish to slap people. I mean, also a good use. So
Also
yeah,
a great use of fish.
maybe it was that.
But he was giving him a visual image that, look, these are the meats. Go ahead and partake from them. And he's like, no, we shouldn't do that. I know what we can and can't do, and we shouldn't be eating these animals.
Yeah, but what does God then do? God rebukes
What's
Peter.
the rest of the story, Matthew?
Like,
I want to hear it. I want to hear what Matthew.
Because he knew from the creation probably that we shouldn't be doing that, right? And if the Messiah was an Essene like John the Baptist was, then
which he wasn't, but okay.
Which he wasn't.
And also
Continue.
John the Baptist wasn't either, but sure.
And also, Peter didn't know from creation that we shouldn't do that. Those were the religious practices of his time and place.
You know, I was going to take a drink for like John the Baptist and Peter might have been Essenes, which, no, if they were Essenes, they'd be out separating themselves from the corruption of the temple that they thought was illegitimate. But Peter, in the stories, goes to the temple.
John the Baptist might have been an Essene.
It seems very unlikely because, again, he was going around gaining followers in the broader Jewish context, and there's not a whole lot of indication that his followers were, like, attempting to overthrow the temple hierarchy or anything.
I see. Okay.
Gotcha. They were seen as political agitators, which is why Rome wasn't a big fan, but we don't seem, at least internal to the Gospels, like, we don't have a lot of stories about the followers of John the Baptist trying to disrupt, like, the ritual activities at the temple.
That's true.
So the chances of either Jesus or John the Baptist having been Essenes is practically nil. Now, could they have been influenced by certain Essene teachings or practices? Yes, maybe.
Okay.
But also, if Jesus were an Essene, he would spend way more time worrying about things like, hey, if I have a jug of water and I pour it onto something unclean, does the uncleanness travel up the water and into the jug and make the whole jug unclean? Because that was a big debate over in Qumran with all the Essenes.
Ooh. No, I would say, like, I think based off of my very little knowledge, right? Like, John the Baptist is more of an eccentric figure, right?
I mean, he's certainly that.
And so seems to have been maybe influenced by some of the more eccentric religious practices of the time.
Do you know that Matt tried to do the John the Baptist diet, but he couldn't find a good source for locusts, so he just ate raw honey for like a year? So basically, for like a year, his calorie intake was just sugar.
Just honey? Gosh.
Yeah. This is a crazy person. I don't know.
How does he not have skirt?
I mean, I'm not positive that he doesn't. I've never seen his gums.
Fair.
Let's see. Rosina Paradolia Enthusiast Keller for $4.99 says, God and Arby's, we have the meats. I say as I wear my Arby's pajama bottoms. Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. God is definitely not a vegetarian in the Bible. Nor is he advocating for people to be vegetarians. In fact, like I said earlier, a lot of what's in the Bible can be reasonably interpreted as an order for certain people to eat meat.
Let's be really clear. Peter is also not rejecting meat. No. At best, in this moment, he is rejecting specific kinds of meat.
Right. And the thing is, it specifically says in the text that the animals on the blanket are unclean animals. Yeah. Not just animals broadly.
Right.
They wouldn't have been eating meat anyway. Remember, one of the very prophecies of the Messiah was that he would come drinking milk and honey. What is that a prophecy of? It's that he would be a vegetarian.
Hey, I've drank milk and eaten honey. That doesn't make me a vegetarian. That's not how words work.
Citation needed. That's not how words work.
Taking a drink, that is ridiculous.
Gosh.
Maddie, if I tell you that I'm gonna come visit, and when I come to visit you, I'm going to be munching on a carrot. Is that me telling you I'm a vegetarian? Or is that just telling you that sometimes I eat a carrot and I'm going to be doing it when I come over?
The latter.
Yeah, the latter. What? Nicholas Kale Music for $2 redo says, 31 drinks, I'd best catch up. Arvo, yeah, nice. Thank you. And yeah, you better catch up. Although, you also don't have to. Because here's the secret. It's all just for fun.
It's just for fun, team.
He would never
eat. We have fun here.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the prophecies. So he couldn't have eaten because he would have falsified his own prophecy of him coming.
Nope,
not real.
Also, Jesus is depicted as at various times attending rituals in the temple, which, well, at least, doing Passover stuff at the very least. That required eating meat. You can't have a Passover meal without having lamb. It's not an option.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to just not have the traditional Passover meal, then okay, great. But Jesus seems to be depicted as having a Passover meal, and it's not like there's any kind of indication that like Jesus is like, well, we're not going to eat the sacrificial lamb, though. That's not okay.
Right. That would be ridiculous.
Now, but on the other hand, if the gospel writers were trying to intentionally depict Jesus as a vegetarian, and he
did a real bad job.
Yeah, and he's engaged in an activity that would by default involve meat consumption, you'd think it would have behooved them to indicate that Jesus didn't partake in the meat aspect of this activity.
Right. Because it's like saying, if I tell you I went to a barbecue, right, and the food was really good, right? That's all the sentence I tell you. You don't know exactly what I ate.
I'm pretty darn sure some of it was meat, though.
But you should be pretty darn sure some of it was meat, because going to a barbecue, right, implies things, right? We know that a barbecue is typically involved. Well, like where I'm from, it typically involves like a smoked meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what a barbecue is, right?
Yeah, you can get some ribs or some brisket or some sausage or...
Yeah, we're talking about meat cooked outside on a fire, usually involving a smoke.
Yeah, there might also be corn on the cob or something, but that is
right
in addition.
Yeah. Now, so if I wanted to communicate that I am a vegetarian, right? I would say, oh, I went to this barbecue with my family, and it was so nice. They grilled some mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
That's a very different statement, right? Like,
now I want some grilled mushrooms.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
So we have all kinds of things. Here's one more real quick. Okay. Have you ever heard of the UOX enzyme?
What?
Oh, sorry. I'll just finish up with this then real quick.
What did he even say? A UOX enzyme?
Oh. Yeah.
That's not a word that I'm familiar with. I don't think it's a word at all.
If he doesn't explain it, I don't have any.
Okay. You know what? Sure, maybe he just mispronounced something and he actually had something really smart to say.
Yeah.
Landon Knoll says, as a pescatarian, I find this a very embarrassing, Dabber Dinosaur. Well, I'm sorry, Landon. Yeah, I don't think I knew that you were a pescatarian, but then again, I've also seen you cook, and I don't think I've ever seen any meat in the cooking, so I guess it shouldn't surprise me, which it also doesn't, so. Honestly, I think Landon cooking is some great content. Every once in a while, he's cooking on one of the shows that I do with him on Chesh's channel, and it's always nice. He's always got some, like a nice spread of spices out there, and he's always going through his current technique and good stuff.
It's an enzyme that is missing in all human beings. It's the reason we get gout, because uric acid builds up and we have no ability to really get rid of it.
Okay, so Roasted Apparently Enthusiast Keller for $1.99 says, did my brain spasm? It's certainly possible.
It's certainly possible.
So here's the thing.
It's impossible to tell, though. Like, did your brain spasm, or are those words? So no way to tell.
I will say, like, yeah, a buildup of uric acid is a problem. Yeah, humans could be a lot better at getting rid of it, but also you'll notice not everyone gets gout. It's because, yeah, you can get rid of it. And it is also associated with overconsumption of meat. But that's the important part. It's overconsumption. You have to eat a lot of meat to have gout as a result of eating meat.
Yeah.
There's a reason it was considered a rich person's disease throughout most of history, because not only did you have to be rich enough to eat meat routinely, you had to be rich enough to eat it in excess.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just going to assume that different people are more or less prone to it as well. Like, I not a biologist, so far out of my field. But like, people seem to be more, like, some people are more prone to this, that, and the other than others. And so, like, there's a diet component, there's going to be like a genetic component, there's going to be an environment. And yeah, like, if all you ate was meat, that's going to give you health problems.
Yeah.
But that's not what anyone here is advocating. I'm not advocating for any particular diet. I'm just pointing out that it's ridiculous.
And also, yeah, hey, don't show up at the channel with casual bigotry and also threats of violence. So yeah, Godseed's gone. Bye.
Bye.
I'll take a moment to, especially during Pride Month, say, yeah, the Diaper Gino channel supports trans rights and doesn't support
Trans rights.
threatening to show up at Maya Atkinson's house and beat her. We don't support that.
No. What? No.
Yeah. So, one of those things, yes, trans rights. No threats of violence. If you want to do the
No threats of
opposite,
violence.
you don't get to be around.
No.
Pretty simple.
So it builds up in your system, and it causes the purine, the crystals, and they get in and they embed themselves in the joints, and you start to get gout. We don't have the ability to even get rid of it. So you can't say that, oh, we adapted to eating meat now, because the exact opposite is true. Still,
Matt, anything that you eat to excess can cause problems. Anything.
If all you ate was carrots, you will have problems.
Yes. I'm taking a drink for this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I would like to take.
The vast majority of people who eat meat will never develop gout. The people who do develop gout generally have to eat excessive amounts of red meat. And when I say excessive, I don't mean you had a burger daily. I mean like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're having like beef. Don't do that. I don't know anyone who does that.
Yeah. Chicken, still meat, doesn't cause gout.
Yeah, it is specifically a red meat problem in addition. But yeah, if you eat anything to excess, you will have problems. You want to eat some nice lean tuna? Well, guess what? Eat too much tuna, you're going to get mercury poisoning. Does that mean you should never eat tuna? No. It just means it shouldn't be the thing that you eat all the time, every day. Don't have daily tuna sandwiches. Have like once a week or once a month you can have a tuna sandwich, right? And yeah, you'll be fine. And sure, it'll technically still cause mercury buildup, but it's the dose that makes the poison with everything. There's nothing out there that you should just be eating to the exclusion of all else in huge quantities. And yeah, the fact that the thing that happens if you do that with red meat specifically is gout doesn't change the fact that if all you do is eat carrots, you're going to turn into an orange weirdo who has a really weird imbalance in which vitamins you have. And is probably going to have a deficiency. Perry Bronson for $5 says, AIG is a bag of gridlocks. Hoist the pink and blue flag high. Thank you very much. We will take a drink. And I will adjust the little thermometer. All right, here we go.
Don't contain any of these enzymes for breaking it down. The only reason we can break it down is because we have some hydrochloric acid of our stomach. We're still not even very good at digesting plants because we weren't created by God to even eat vegetables.
What were we created by God to eat, Matt?
Please tell me. What were we created by God to eat? Fruit? Is that what you're going to get to?
Well, he just said we're not very good at eating vegetables. So yeah, I guess maybe fruit. Like,
yeah,
I will tell you.
We're not supposed to eat meat. We're not supposed to eat vegetables. What are we supposed to eat?
Well, okay, Raw Matt is a well-known monofruitarian.
Right.
Which means that at least for part of his life, what he would do is he would pick up one fruit that was in season and eat nothing but that for the entire month. Which is really bad for you. Don't do that. Look, there's a reason that Raw Matt looks like a cancer patient constantly. He's always looks gaunt with sunken eyes. He looks like he's about to die. His hair is thinning. And not in like a normal like male pattern baldness way, but in a like your whole head is just getting stringy because your hair is just falling out kind of way.
Yeah. Listen, this is how I'm teaching my not even 2-year-old toddler about food and nutrition, right? We like to talk about all the different colors of food on our plate, right? And have something different at different meals, right?
Oh, also,
and we have, gosh.
Annoying Newsletter points something out. You're orange, carrots and niacin. Get some finger paints and do the math. Here's the thing, actually. One of the things that Scientology does is this thing called the Purification Rundown, which involves people taking absurdly high doses of niacin, and people have taken too much niacin and had to be rushed to the hospital while doing this Scientology ritual, because it has you taking, like, multiple whole grams of niacin by the end of it. It's like, why don't you take 30 grams of niacin? It's like, no, don't do that. Because yes, niacin is an important nutrient. You need some. But just like with everything else, if you take a frickin' pound of it, it's gonna be bad. Let's see. Yeah. Steve G. Quinnard for $5 says, technically true. that humans weren't designed by God to eat vegetables. You know what? That is true. It is technically true that what Raw Matt said was correct.
Technically true.
So we will take a drink for that. Good point. Right, here we go.
Like primates, they still contain what their appendix was designed and created for, right? Is to break down plant cellulose. In human beings, it's a backup immune system. It produces killer B cells, like your thyroid produces killer T cells.
Actually, it is increasingly unlikely that the appendix in humans ever had anything to do with breaking down plant matter. It looks like it actually probably did evolve for the current function it has, making it not a vestigial trait. So
its current function is like a reserve of your gut bacteria.
yes, it does serve as that. Sorry, I was kicking. Well, I'm sure the same person, but on a alt account off of the chat. Because then they in all caps asked everyone to come fight them. And here's the thing, man.
Good.
It's the internet. No one cares about your baby impotent rage, and no one's going to come fight you, because here's the thing, man. You don't matter to anyone here. No one cares about you and your impotent rage against trans people or my moderation staff. No one cares. You are an insignificant person who no one here wants to hear from. So no one's going to fight you. Because it doesn't matter. You don't matter to us.
So they were designed for vegetables, like we see. We were designed for fruit. That's why when we eat vegetables, we don't do very good. We have to take cellulose.
Yep, he's going with this whole monofruitarian thing. At least he's finally getting to nutrition over an hour into this entire nutrition podcast. And look, I'm not telling you not to eat fruit, right? Fruit's good for you. Eat some fruit. But you know what? So are carrots. So is spinach. So is broccoli. Those are also good for you. Eat those too.
Yeah.
Which breaks down cellulose as an enzyme because we get gassy and fermenting.
I'm sorry, Matt, do you think that fruit doesn't have cellulose?
Oh no!
Because he just said that the reason we shouldn't eat vegetables is because it's hard to break down cellulose. Matt, I got news for you, my guy. Fruits also contain cellulose. Because cellulose coats every single plant cell. I don't know if you know this, but fruit is made of plant. Which means fruit has cellulose. Now, granted, per unit volume, it's going to have less cellulose than, say, like raw spinach. Yeah. But it's still there. Rosina, Pareidolia Enthusiast Keller, says, the appendix has been gained and lost at least 39... Okay, hold on. The appendix has been gained and lost at least 39 separate times in mammals. There we go. Hard to call vestigial. So yes and no, right? Because that something has re-evolved numerous times. Doesn't preclude it from being vestigial, but it does mean that if you want to look at such an organ and determine whether it's vestigial in any given organism, you have to be very careful to understand its actual evolutionary lineage, right? Same thing with eyes, right? Like, eyes have evolved probably 40 plus times in the history of life. Some things do have vestigial eyes, though, right? Like the eyes of a mole that are covered in skin completely. Those are vestigial eyes. So it's not quite so simple as like, well, it keeps re-evolving, so it must not be vestigial. It is more complicated than that. So, yeah.
Most animals that are designed to eat plants have 4 stomachs or extremely long intestinal tracts. We don't have that. So, just more proof we were designed for something else. The only reason we can eat these other foods groups is because we cook them and we remove all these other anti-nutrients and we get rid of
anti-nutrients.
What are anti-nutrients?
The only thing I can think of is that you eat an anti-nutrient, and some nutrients that your body did have just leaves your body. I'm gonna take.
We made a warp reactor. We did it.
That's amazing. Anti-nutrients. Oh.
Of them in the water that we can pour out or we cook away. That's the only reason we can do it. We can't go outside and pull leaves off that pine. Go eat some pine tree. You know what I mean? Go rip off the pine needles and just.
Matt, the fact that a particular group of leaves is really, really lacking in nutrition doesn't mean that you shouldn't eat any kinds of leaves, right?
Right. However, if you took pine needles and made like a small beer out of it, so make like spruce beer, right? That can in fact fend off scurvy.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I am against scurvy. I am anti-scurvy.
It was a part of British soldiers' rations. Really.
Here's the thing, right? You can eat lettuce, you can eat cabbage, you can eat spinach, you can eat dandelion leaves. There's a lot of leaves out there that while they're not going to be chock full of nutrients, you're not going to survive off of them. They're still giving you things, right? Like, maybe you want some iron. There's some high iron leafy greens out there. Go eat some.
Yeah.
Right? And granted, it's not going to be as nutrient dense as, an apple or a kiwi or a banana. But guess what? Not all food needs to be equally calorie dense. That's just not a requirement for anything, for anyone.
Mm-mm.
Have a whole lunch meal on that sometime. You'll see real quick you're not an omnivore.
Yeah, Ramet, I'm aware that I'm not likely to be satisfied by a meal that's just a big old bowl of spinach, right? But that's the thing. Normal people, normal animals, right, don't go around eating literally nothing but one organism and one part of that organism for their entire lives, or even for just a few months normally, right? There are some extremophile exceptions, but generally speaking, all animals like to do this thing called changing it up, right? You eat a few different fruits, you eat a few different types of leaves, you eat a few different types of meat, whatever. For some reason, Raw Matt has decided that no, he is actually going to be some kind of weird food purist, where he only ever eats one thing at a time, period. And that's not good for you, nor is that just behavior that you typically observe in either humans or other animals. No one food is likely to give you a balanced diet, unless it's been artificially formulated to do such, right?
Yeah.
So unless you want to go into, like, I don't know, nutrient paste factory or something, and sell nutrient paste to people that is specifically formulated to be the perfect balanced diet for humans, you're going to need to eat more than one thing. And sometimes that will involve vegetables, Ramat. Even though, it's harder to digest vegetables than it is most other things. That does not mean that they're unhealthy or that they don't contain important nutrients that you need. Heather, Evolution of Forks for $5 says, also tends to be associated specifically with organ meats like kidneys, which most Americans don't eat much of. Yeah, that is another thing. I don't know that I've ever specifically had kidneys. I've had liver. I'm not a huge fan, but it's not terrible. But yeah, there's also that, right? Like, if you're just eating muscle tissue, you're not gonna. You can still get gout if you eat a lot of it. But yeah, it's.
Yeah, we don't eat a lot of organ meat over here.
Yeah, there's a reason that very few people get gout anymore.
Yeah.
Part of it has to do with iodized salt, though, because that also helps.
Wait, I thought that was why we don't get goiters?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Goiters. You're right. It's goiters. My bad. Correction. Goiters. There was actually... I used to live in a part of the country that was once called the Goiter Belt.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But it hasn't been called the Goiter Belt in a very long time. Because people don't get goiters too much anymore.
I know, I've never had liver, but I know my parents used to have a ton when they were young because my mom would make liver and onions because you could get an onion for $0.10 and enough liver for two people for like less than $1.
Yeah. Liver and onions is a very cheap meal.
Poor.
Yeah, no, look, that's how it is, right? The thing is, there's a very important discussion to be had about how people eat in developed countries and how their socioeconomic status changes how they eat and how healthy their diet is and how wealth inequality leads to differential outcomes in nutrition and exercise and things like that. Like, those are interesting and important conversations. And the unfortunate thing is that rather than having those conversations where there could be something productive said, Raw Matt just wants to spread misinformation about not only food, but also just the Bible broadly.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating, right? Because I can tell that he's interested in the kind of conversation that could be useful, but he can't get himself to that point because he has too much other nonsense that he wants to express. And I hate that because, like I said, there are good conversations to have around food. What is good for you? What isn't? Why is it that nutrition science seems to be ping-ponging all over the place? On even just basic things like, hey, are eggs good or bad? Who knows?
Gosh,
that has changed like 5 different times in like the last couple decades or something. And I just go with like, I'm going to eat eggs every once in a while. I don't know.
Yeah, I think nutrition science as a science is so hard, right? Because I think it's hard to do ethical experiments, right?
And even if you are doing ethical experiments, compliance with the experiment is also hard to enforce. And
exactly. Yeah.
It's and hard to detect in many cases.
Yeah. And again, the problems we have now are like new. Again, because not that long ago, the main nutrition problem was how do we make sure everybody gets enough calories, which is what the food pyramid was about, right? That was about how do you spend your money appropriately to get your family enough calories.
Yeah, it turns out now that that's not really a problem. The food pyramid might not be the best idea.
It might not be, because we're solving a new problem, right? It's a different problem.
I got a super chat to read. Roasting a Pareidolia enthusiast Keller for $4.99 says, buy a mortar and pestle and pound those indigestible leaves into submission. Yes.
Love it.
I'm a fan of the mortar and pestle. I've got one. I like it. All right, I'm going to hit play on this. We only got a little bit more longer to go, and then we're going to end it here after having gotten through not very much of this video.
That was awesome. I made a lot of notes here, and
oh, good.
Yeah, I think with the red meat thing, my biggest concern is just the cysteine and methionine content, which are proven inflammatory amino acids. Which,
dude, everything that you could possibly eat, with very few exceptions, is going to be proven to have certain problems associated with overconsumption. Pointing out that there is a thing in a food that you eat that, when taken to excess, is bad for you is not the same as pointing out that that food is bad for you. Now, I am going to say I do think a lot of Americans eat too much red meat. Yeah, that's probably true. Most Americans could probably stand to cut back on red meat. And look, I know that I'm probably eating more than I should. I mean, there's a reason I strive to always keep some tofu in the house for a meat-free meal, and why I try to make sure that, like, you know, you have more chicken than I do beef. But still, just pointing out that a thing has a thing that's bad if you eat a bunch of it doesn't mean anything. Because what if you're not eating too much of it?
Yeah, this like anti-inflammatory, it's like that's such a kick in like nutrition world, and it feels so pseudoscience-y. So like, there are people who have something like rheumatoid arthritis, right, which is an inflammatory like disease, right? I think I'm definitely kind of speaking out my butt, right? So like, if there is a reason why you need to be really careful about things that could cause inflammation,
then
right?
Modify that diet.
Then modify that diet. That does not mean it is universally true and good for all people, right? Like, I have a friend who has celiacs, and so like,
can't eat gluten.
Yeah. So she can't eat gluten, and like that affected her body's ability to like, not her body's ability, that affected how she got specific nutrients in her diet, because the way most Americans get it is through grains, right? And I forget the specifics on it, but like she had to be really careful, and she was also a college athlete, right? So she had to be really careful about like getting nutrients she needed, because she was also in a high performance situation, right? Yeah. Like,
well, and the thing is, like, when it comes to like what I've been saying, with the dose is what makes the poison. I routinely eat poison.
Yeah,
it's a very.
You're having some right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm drinking some alcohol right now. Now, I'm not going to say that alcohol consumption is healthy, but like, I eat nutmeg. Nutmeg is poisonous.
Yeah.
You can OD on nutmeg. Now, it's going to take a lot of nutmeg, but you can do it. Does that mean that I'm wrong or unhealthy for adding nutmeg sometimes to things? No.
Yeah.
No. Chocolate is poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
I eat chocolate sometimes.
Capsaicin, so poisonous.
I eat a lot of that stuff.
A lot of capsaicin. It's so yummy.
A lot of it. I eat more of it than most people I know. But that's the thing, right? It's the dose. You can't just say, well, this food has this bad thing, therefore don't eat that thing. It's not how it works, because that's true for virtually every food. Unless you're going to like subsist off of gruel, everything you're eating. In fact, even if you are subsisting off of gruel, because guess what? Maybe you're gluten intolerant. And you know what gruel has? Gluten.
Wheat.
All right, we got a couple super chats. Heather Evolution of Forks Coon for $5 says, I think oxalic acid counts as an anti-nutrient. It interferes with nutrient absorption. You know what? That would count, I would say.
Yeah.
Bambi Carcinogens Z for $5 with their third super chat. Thank you so much. Says, nothing clever to say. I just want to contribute before the stream ends. Love what you do, Dapper. Happy Pride Month, and good night, everyone. Well, happy Pride to you, too. And we are going to be wrapping up here. Actually, we're going to start doing wrap-up stuff right now. We're not going to get any more raw mat in today, because I don't know if I can. So, I want to say thank you so much to everyone here, everyone who super chatted, everyone who gifted memberships, everyone who just watched, everyone who hit that like button, everyone who shared this stream, everyone who's going to go watch another Dapper Dinosaur video after this. Oh, but there's Godzilla. Drink for Godzilla.
There's Godzilla.
Also, hey, this play, so I don't do a whole lot of like flag-based branding or things like that, right? Like, I don't fly rainbow or trans or bisexual or any of the other pride flags. I don't fly national flags. I don't do a whole lot of that stuff because to me, I feel like if by my behavior you don't know what I'm about when it comes to any of those topics, then I've already failed and no amount of flags are going to fix that, right? Now, I'm not denigrating anyone who is putting up any of that stuff, right? That's a perfectly fine thing to do. This is a personal decision for me that I feel like if you can't tell where I stand when it comes to things like trans rights or marriage equality or anything else like that, then I'm already failing. And I do think that for the most part, everyone gets it. But this is for especially my mods, and also for anyone who might watch this video and then later think that they want to comment. Don't be bigoted in my chat. It's not a big problem. It comes up very much because I have a great audience. But don't do it. I don't care if you're a channel member. I don't care if you're a patron. I don't care. You will get banned if you threaten people or you are just persistently bigoted. If you tell an off-color joke and someone tells you to correct it and you don't, then you're going to get banned. But if you do, okay, fine. You told a stupid joke. It happens sometimes. But yeah, hey, just don't do it. It's pretty simple. And if you can't follow that rule, you don't have to comment. You don't have to chat. You can just watch. And that's okay too. I can't stop you. So, although I don't normally like going into that, since it did come up today, I thought I would point that out. To all of my LGBTQ plus viewers out there, I hope you have a wonderful rest of Pride and that the occasional bigot who sneaks their way into my chat doesn't ruin the evening for you. Or the morning, or the afternoon, or the night, whatever time it is where you are. Because despite what people like the presidents of Iran and Russia might say, you guys are everywhere. Because, yeah, when Putin says there's no gay people in this country, he's lying. Just putting that out there. Same thing with Iran.
That's a lie.
Yeah, it turns out that's just not true. What there might be, though, is far fewer people who are willing to be openly themselves in your country because of the horrible oppression. But oppressing someone into hiding isn't the same as them not existing. Yeah, that's not the same. That's why whenever anyone's like, oh no, there's this rise in people with different gender identities, it's like, is there? Or is there just more people who are willing to actually tell you what their own internal feeling of their gender identity actually is? So
and people have a vocabulary for a thing that people in the past didn't have a vocabulary. Right.
But I'm going to say, Maddie, what do you have coming up soon for you?
Oh man, I don't even know, except tomorrow night, Top Hats Off, Power Rangers game. Wild topic transition.
I've promised that the last 3 streams, or the last 4 something streams, I don't know. And hopefully this time it's true.
Hopefully this time it's true. Yeah. Hopefully this time it's true.
Yeah. So yeah, that's tomorrow. That'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern over on Top Hats Off, my other channel. Coming up this week on Thursday on this channel at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, the next Pamela Acker video will be coming out. That first one started out doing okay, and then suddenly a whole bunch more people started watching it, so that's nice.
Nice.
So yeah, it's now overperforming rather than just performing, which is nice. So that's going to be on Thursday. Then on Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, Dapper Reacts number whatever, I don't know, 90 or something. Also, yeah, as Rosana Pareidolia Enthusiast Keller says for $1.99, Juneteenth is tomorrow. Yes. The holiday with perhaps the most obtuse name of all the holidays. Because it doesn't tell you, not only does it not tell you what the holiday is about, it also doesn't really tell you what day it is. So it's like, I really wish it had a different name. However, it is in fact an important thing to commemorate when the slaves in the United States who were set free actually learned that they had been set free. Because in the days before, reliable high-speed communication, the fact that a law was passed didn't usually mean much for a while, because that had to be disseminated. So yeah, happy Juneteenth early to we're at all, I guess, because you're probably not. I'm not going to stream on this channel for Juneteenth. So yeah, happy Juneteenth, everybody. All right, that is it. We're going to be watching Power Rangers SPD over on the Discord channel if you're interested in that. If you're not, then just have a wonderful rest of whatever time of day it is for you right now. We'll see you, hopefully, all tomorrow on Top Hats Off. And if not, then at least on Thursday. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye, team.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Benthoven, Philravara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Eleron Teller, Horseflesh, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostek Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Sphincter of Doom, Wallace, John Ackerman, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.